40,000 homes in 2,100 streets are expected to be flooded by the time this crisis is finally over. More than 50 suburbs have flooding, and it's gradually creeping into the city centre behind me. Now, the death toll has sadly risen to 12 after the discovery of 2 men's bodies in the Lockyer Valley. But the number missing has been revised down. It now stands at 51. The Brisbane River is now at 4.2 metres and rising, while the Bremer River in Ipswich has passed 20 metres. More than 3,500 people have now been evacuated, including 400 people who've been moved to evacuation centres here in Brisbane. Public transport is being wound down, with buses ceasing services to the CBD and trains now running on a public holiday timetable.
Hello.
Hello, Peter.
Guys, this is the live shot now from Chelmer in Brisbane, and you can see that house there, like so many others in Brisbane, water right up to the rooftops. The Lord Mayor says the peak at 4 o'clock so far was 4.4 metres. That's expected to go to 5.5 metres, and they're talking about that peak coming at 4 a.m. tomorrow morning. On current projections, 1,700 homes to be flooded. Right now, we're tracking down the Brisbane River, so swollen, so huge, and heading along towards the tennis centre in Brisbane at Tennyson, where huge amounts of water inundating the areas to either side of the Brisbane River and suburbs right across Brisbane. The Brisbane River now impressive from the air, but devastating on the ground as it consumes homes throughout this city. That's the tennis centre there where the Brisbane International was held only a short time ago. That centre and the units nearby flooded. To the right, we're looking out over Rockley, and it is now a vast sea. That's the market area, and a huge amount of water has inundated that water, that homes, the Ipswich motorway there, as Brisbane slowly goes under, and that will increasingly go under in the next 12 hours.
Peter, tell us, how much debris can you see floating down the Brisbane River still?
There is so much debris heading down the Brisbane River, basically anywhere you look right now, and there are thousands of people out looking at the river. Wherever you look, and as I say, this is live right now, we'll have a look around and see what we can see, but right now there are logs going down river, there are constantly boats, pontoons. We just went and checked a moment ago the Moggle Ferry. It is still hanging by a thread, but the concern is that it will break away, and if it does so, it will come down river and slam into the Centenary Bridge. Now, during the 1974 flood, another barge, a barge actually slammed into the bridge, and it threatened the entire Centenary Bridge there, so they actually had to scuttle that in 74. They've learned from that, and the Premier has asked Defence to deal with the Moggle Ferry now, whether that means scuttling it, sinking it, whatever it means, but basically get rid of it if it poses a risk to Brisbane. Also the Island, one of the party boats that's normally parked around Brisbane, it is also in line to get sunk if it poses a threat to Brisbane.
Peter, thank you for that report. Peter Doherty joining us there from the 7 News chopper, which has been up most of the day. Stay with us. We'll be back with more on Queensland's unfolding flood disaster after the break. Stay with us on 7.
Good evening, Kay. Tonight, the River City is a city in the river. We'll start our coverage here. We're showing you a live shot now of the Goodna RSL Club, which is up to the roof in water. As we drift across the train station, you see, that's the Ipswich line. That train station completely inundated. As we move to the right, you are now looking at the Ipswich motorway. That's one of those very iconic walkways across the Ipswich motorway, which has completely vanished in the sea, which is now engulfing Ipswich and Brisbane. Now let me show you the shopping centre. It's hard to fathom. Down there we can see the Hungry Jack's sign, but we cannot see the restaurant. So the complete restaurant of Hungry Jack's has vanished. So too the service stations there to the left. The water is now up to the roof and it is expected to go high. Amazing scenes here in Goodna. Councillor Paul Tully reported seeing a bull shark in the river, actually in the main street of Goodna not too long ago. Now, of course, not just businesses, but a devastating effect on homes and people as well. And we're just tracking down to the caravan park here. And when we went over this area this morning, there was water around those caravans. Those caravans are now adrift. So they're leaving where they were stowed and they're starting to move down the river. They're people's lives, people's homes, where they lived right there. Now let's actually show you some of those homes where the rooftops are only just visible. Now we can update that Energex figure, 127,000 homes now without power. The peak, well, the water will keep rising overnight to a projected height of 5.2 metres in Brisbane tomorrow morning. So you look at that house there, you add another 80 centimetres onto the top of those homes and many, many more roofs will go underwater. The Mayor is now talking about 20,000 homes with water in them in Brisbane. That is an astonishing figure as we look around Brisbane. Whichever way you look, it's staggering. The volume of the water now overtaking Brisbane and Ipswich. Right, an update here. We're looking at live pictures of South Bank and the lagoon that we all go for a swim at. Many people do. It's now inundated by floodwater. They've made it into the lagoon. Two other bits of breaking news. 180,000 homes without power now. And very shortly, 2 Black Hawks will fly across Brisbane with 2 giant sea anchors. They're going to drop them onto the Moggle ferry to stop it becoming a torpedo and smash the city's bridges. Back to you, Rod.
Can we cope?
Absolutely. What we have out there on the front line is a massive army of people, emergency personnel, fire and rescue, police, SES volunteers and the army. We have 25 helicopters that will assist tomorrow across all of these regions. It's not going to be easy. This is a very difficult experience for all those people who are going through it and being personally affected. It's devastating. But can we cope? Absolutely. Will we cope? You bet.
Since this flood event began, an estimated 25 people have died. How do you as Premier deal with that sort of knowledge as well as dealing with the crisis that's surrounding us?
Well, of course, Patrick, we've seen just shocking news out this week out of the Lockyer Valley, and the stories out of there are not over yet. And I'm like every other, I think, parent out there, particularly those people who have lost children. It's heartache time. But we've got a big event to manage here to make sure that we don't see any more deaths. And I'm acutely aware that the job we've got in front of us, we are determined to keep people safe. We have all the preparations to make sure that that happens. And then we've got the big job of clean up and recovery, and we're just as focused on that.
I know you're very busy. Thank you very much for your time.
Much.
Thanks, Premier.